Welcome to another episode of Putting Our Superpowers into Practice. Count down 7 more podcasts to go in this series. As we practice and practice and practice using our superpowers and our power of choice, it becomes a habit. So your choice muscles are getting stronger every episode. And by the time we get to the end of this series, you can tell everyone, welcome to the Spiritual Gun Show. Sadness is one of the emotions our fear ego uses to try to manipulate others. It is an important piece on the board of mind games, so the fear ego isn't going to give it up easily. Imagine the Puss in Boots cat, Sad Eyes from Shrek. But also remember that little hissy cat that comes after if it doesn't get his way. As a reminder, the manipulative process is to act hurt when we don't get our way, then act as an angry bully if that doesn't work, and finally we enact the cold shoulder of rejection routine as a desperate attempt to get our way. A cannibal walked into his home, having arrived 30 minutes late. His dinner was set on the table, but his wife was nowhere to be seen. He began to eat his dinner, but spit it out just as his wife entered the room. "Why did you give me the cold shoulder?" he asked. And his wife lovingly responded, "That's what happens when you're late for dinner," as she put the shoulder back into the oven to heat it up. That brings a whole new meaning to the phrase cold shoulder, but neither are probably very appetizing. The amount of rules around feeling sad are many. You're supposed to feel sad when your television show gets canceled. Your friends cancel plans with you. You don't get that position you interviewed for. Your partner cheats on you. Your partner passes away. You drop your ice cream in the dirt. Your car is stolen. You have a flat tire. Your rent goes up. You can't afford that new thing. You don't get a raise at work. And I'm sure you can easily add 100 more things to that list without having to think very hard at all. One of the moments where I chose to feel sadder than normal was when I was a toddler. My parents went to a wedding in Hawaii, and it was the first time that I can remember where we spent the night away from them. I cried myself to sleep that night, feeling abandoned and scared that I was alone. My older brother was with me, so that was a comfort. At least they left us both. That made it feel less personal. My brother became kind of like a surrogate dad for me because ours worked so hard and his hours were later in the day. So while we were at school, he was sleeping, and when we were home, he was at work. So a couple of years later, after that first experience that we just talked about, I had another moment that freaked me out. My brother was supposed to walk home with me each day from school, and since I was like a first grader. But this particular day, he chose to leave with his friends halfway home. My mom was still at work for a while, so I entered through our garage door to an empty house, the latchkey child time frame back in the day. Many years later, we discovered during therapy that this was a turning point in how my brain filed things. Being around 6 years old, my little brain fried from fear and began the story of abandonment, worthlessness, and sadness. I began to believe that I wasn't worth being around and became one of those sensitive children that were branded a crybaby. Like all the other uncomfortable emotions we talk about, our disappointment explodes because we were depending on some external person or thing to validate our worth. But instead of them offering the true worth of ourselves that we sensed deep in our heart, they cut prices and discounted us. We became a blue light special. It's that feeling like we're just about to step through the gates of Disney World and they cut us off, telling us they can't let us in. Or like that movie, Family Vacation, where they took that long trip to get to Wally World only to find out it was closed for 2 weeks. We knew we should be allowed access, but we believed what these pranksters were saying because we feared their opinion of us. That is, until we rip open our shirts to reveal our superhero costumes. Superpowers ignite. The power to laugh. We hear those hoodlums laughing at us because we believed that the amusement park was closed. But now we can turn the tide. With our capes flapping in the wind, we put our hands on our hips, puff up our chest, and let out a loud, hearty laugh. Ha, ha, ha! I laugh at you, silly comments and actions. We confidently yell. Our power to laugh floods any situation with light and love instead of darkness and suppression. We are freed to believe whatever we want to believe because we have exposed their little jokes as a made-up comedy. It's all just a silly movie. So laugh. The power of thank you. There were a lot of stories and even songs about unanswered prayers, expressing how grateful they were that they were denied something that they were asking for. We wanted to be with that person so badly, but they rejected us like a stinky squirrel. But then we find out later that they were an abusive, possessive person who ended up killing their spouse after robbing them of everything else that they had. Then there was that position at work we drooled over, applied for, and were denied of. 3 months later, they closed that department, and everyone in that department is laid off. Then there was a time our rent was raised. We had to move somewhere else because we couldn't afford it anymore at that time because we didn't get that raise we were hoping to get to. But we read in the news that a fire destroyed that apartment building later in that year. We never really know what is in our best interest. There is a choice we can make to trust the flow of life and believe that it is always at our highest experience. We can always find something to be thankful for about any situation. It could always be worse. The power of now. We can become victims of time. We try to take a shortcut in life to get ahead to where we think we're supposed to be. So we go through an alley to save time and are abducted by the past or the future. But if we question time and dissect it, our confidence in time diminishes. What is time? It's something created by humans. Before time was invented, the earth spun, seasons changed, and things unfolded as they did. Mankind created this mechanism to organize our lives and to document history. It isn't real. Sadness comes when we are reminded of the past, when we didn't get those things we thought we needed to be lovable, or we think about how circumstances or people's actions are going to impact us in the future. But if it isn't killing us in this moment, then we are fine. The power of no. No is kind of what creates our sadness, doesn't it? Usually, we're sad because we didn't get something we wanted or expected. So something denied us. If we break up with that thought and expectation first, then it can't dump or reject us. Through our power of no, we can tell those demands that we aren't going to let them rule our lives anymore. We will only be as sad as we decide to be. We will only be sad when we say yes to the request from our fear ego. He's dating other people. Can you be sad now? Asks our fear ego. What will be our answer? I'm amazed at the divine timing of things. It happens a lot where, as I'm writing a chapter for one of my books or preparing a podcast, someone will bring up that exact subject with me and provide a detail that I feel the creator wanted to include in it. So in a conversation I was having with a dear friend of mine yesterday, she asked me why she couldn't let go of her sadness. And that is a perfect question that every one of us has asked or will ask in our lives. The answer that came through the whispers of spirit was that we are taught that so many things are supposed to make us sad, and our fear ego will keep us in that loop as far and as long as it can because that's what it was hired to do. It's like our personal trainer. We wanted this experience and sought to buff up our spirit bodies with experience. So when we're ready, then we will let it go. When we are ready to let it go, if that sadness has been with us a long time, it may feel like a part of us. It may have become a crutch where we think we can't walk without it or aren't sure who we would be without the sadness. Because, we get attention from our sadness. When people get together, we seek to know all about each other, but we really enjoy the juicy stuff. You tell me your sad stories, and then I will tell you mine. Then we can have a big pity party as we celebrate our sadness. There is something inside us that enjoys attention no matter what kind it is. And that something is our fear ego. If we give up our sad stories, then all we have left to tell people is, I am love. If you're in an accident on a highway, traffic will slow to see your destruction. Or if you're pulled over by a police officer, they'll gawk to see what is happening. But if you're a love hippie hitchhiking along the same road, they will speed up to get away from you. Our fear ego loves to entertain that sad story. The power to question. So when we are truly ready to let go of sadness, we will start with a clean slate. We will let the horror movie of our life move to the clearance rack and start a new series of self-love movies. As we dig into our emotion of sadness, we discover it's usually connected to pain or loss. Sitting in our calm, we can evaluate what the source of that pain and loss is and take steps to remove it from our lives. Healing old emotional wounds can take some time and effort, but not as much energy as we invest maintaining, suppressing, or hiding our uncomfortable emotions around it. Journaling what we are feeling and why is very helpful. When we are in a place where we can look at the situation with a fresh perspective, we can go back into our memories to see what we felt. I discovered many patterns in my life after 5 years of journaling. It's pretty hilarious when it hits you upside your head and you ask yourself, Why didn't I see that the first 4 times? But we can forgive ourselves, because when we are believing what we are believing, we can't really act any other way, can we? As we change our habit around our choice of being sad or not, we can flex this muscle the next time someone doesn't do something we want them to. Instead of going into our hurt, sad mode to try to make them feel bad for not making us happy, we can choose to be happy anyway. We can look at the situation and tell it, no, I am opting out of letting external things impact me this time. I'm just going to be ecstatically happy because I can. I mean, look at me. Who wouldn't be happy being all this? The more we practice these superpowers, the more easy it becomes to do a quick change into our superhero costume and save our day. I leave you with one of my previous Facebook posts called The Be Cause. We have this urge to try to be someone, accomplish something, or try to get somewhere. These seem to be connected to the fear of not living up to the expectations we were conditioned with in our earlier lives. They were reinforced as we received praise for accomplishing what others felt was acceptable, as well as being punished via rejection, anger, and emotional outbursts for not doing what others wanted us to. We were being manipulated. We can stop living the life of others and begin to live our own life. We can stop trying to have others live the life we want them to live and allow them the freedom to be who they are as well. There is a great amount of energy invested in the cause of being who we think others want us to be and policing the actions of others, making sure they are living life the way we think they should. Even if we're just trying to be ourselves, we realize we are still trying to be someone or something. A flower doesn't need to try to be a flower. It just is. It allows itself to be who it is, taking in the sun, water, and air as it grows through its life, sprouting from a seed, and just enjoying what is. There is no right or wrong way to be. There are many ways to uncondition ourselves from all the supposed to embedded in our lives. You can just select all and delete. Surrender to who we are. No trying, just being. Use the force, the love force. Our adventure is always love. Next episode, we will talk about shame. Until then, think about a moment where you felt the saddest. What do you feel you lost? Did you really have what you thought you had before you lost it? What thoughts were you believing about the situation before they changed? Did you really need that thing to be in your life in order for you to be happy? Can you be happy now if you wanted to be? And always remember, you never have to do anything you don't want to do.